So Daniel Dubois stops Jarrell Big Baby Miller in the 10th round of a fantastic heavyweight slugfest. Let's talk about it. Now, I'm not the most sentimental person in the world, but this fight had a feel-good ending. It was heartwarming to see Daniel Dubois redeem himself in this way and do it against the big bad Brooklyn bully in Jarrell Miller, the guy who talks so tough and that Daniel Dubois in his mind was sweet, etc., etc. Now, going into this fight, I really couldn't call it because we didn't know what Jarrell Miller would be like without the juice. And Daniel Dubois, of course, capitulated against Joe Joyce. He capitulated against Alexander Usyk. But he came into this fight with Jarrell Miller full of confidence. I mean, you wouldn't have imagined that he'd actually lost his last fight the way he came into this one with his demeanor and his mindset. He carried that positivity through the build up to the fight, in the fight itself. He was moving around early doors. Jarrell Miller, as we expected, was applying an awful lot of pressure. And you did wonder whether Daniel Dubois would gas out after a couple rounds because Miller was forcing him to work very, very hard to keep him off. And while Daniel Dubois can move, he's not primarily a mover. That's not his normal game. He likes to hold center ring, push you back behind the jab, and unload his heavy power shots. We did see him move a bit against Alexander Usyk. He was able to stay with Usyk to some extent. Obviously, Usyk's an elite boxer, and he did ping Daniel Dubois all over the place in the end. But he was able to stay with him in terms of footwork to some extent, okay? And yeah, he's always had some semblance of movement about him. But here against Jarrell Miller, obviously a much more stationary, flat-footed opponent, his movement looked really good. He was able to spin off to the side. He was able to walk Miller onto the jabs. And actually, there was a moment early in the fight where I think Daniel Dubois hurt Jarrell Miller with a jab because Daniel Dubois got a very powerful jab. And there was a moment I think he hurt him. I don't know whether Daniel Dubois realized it because he didn't follow up immediately after hitting him with this heavy jab. But I noticed Miller rocked back on his heels and didn't come forward for several seconds. So Miller, look, we know what he is in terms of his style. He is a guy that just uses his enormous weight and size. And look, we all say a lot of stuff about Jarrell Miller, and he definitely deserves all the criticism. And I'm going to give him more criticism in this video. But this man has a chin made of concrete. Let's be real. Because the shots that Daniel Dubois hit him with over and over again, bang on the chin, would have knocked out just about any other heavyweight. But Miller's chin, honestly, is made of concrete. Incredible. He was able to take Daniel Dubois' punches, but there came a point in the fight where Dubois got his second wind because, again, first couple rounds, the pressure of Miller was difficult to get accustomed to, but once he got accustomed to it and got into his groove, he started putting damage on Miller, which began to accumulate. And at that stage, you could tell that Miller was getting desperate. He knew his corner were telling him, you're a mile behind in the fight. You need to land something. You need to do something. Miller did try to invest to the body, but you know what? Daniel Dubois' inside work, he's always been a guy that likes to exchange on the inside, but Daniel Dubois' inside work was really improved in this fight. And I think one of the things that surprised Jarrell Miller here was the physical strength of Daniel Dubois, because he's very physically strong. Despite the fact that he was giving away nearly 100 pounds in weight, he was able to hold his own in the wrestling matches and the clinches up close as the fight wore on, because I think Dubois realized that he couldn't move constantly against Miller. He'd have to hold his feet at times and just bang it out on the inside and try and get respect. And when he did that, he realized, you know what? Even though this guy is 300 pounds plus, I actually can hold my own with him in terms of strength. And I think Miller was surprised by that. And as I say, as the fight progressed, Dubois really got into his groove. Dubois has always had good stamina. You know, this is something that we've seen from early on in his career. I remember when he fought Kevin Johnson, my post-fight video for that fight is still up. A lot of people weren't impressed by his performance, but I said in that post-fight video that I was impressed by Dubois' work rate and stamina. Because, yeah, even though Kevin Johnson's someone who isn't there to win, the way Daniel Dubois was able to keep punching in that fight, constantly punching, and be light on his feet, bouncing around the ring, I found that very impressive. Even though a lot of people weren't impressed because, you know, AJ had already knocked out Kevin Johnson in a couple of rounds. I guess people wanted the similar kind of thing from Daniel Dubois. But as I say, the stamina in that fight impressed me. So Dubois always had good stamina. There's never been any issue with his gas tank. There's been some questions about his heart when things start getting on top and he starts getting hit consistently, but his stamina's always been good. Dubois has that youthful energy, that youthful stamina. You know the way kids can just run around all day and they never get tired? Dubois has had that, and he hasn't allowed it to diminish, because sometimes you move into adulthood, you're not as active as you used to be. And I remember Adam Booth talking about this. Once you lose that youthful energy, you never really get it back. No matter how much you train and try, if you allow that youthful athleticism and energy to go, it's gone for good in most cases. Daniel Dubois, because he's been so dedicated to boxing since he was young, and really, apparently, at least as an outsider looking in, he hasn't had much of a social life. It's just been complete boxing since he was a kid. But that has allowed him to maintain this youthful energy, this youthful stamina to the age of 26 at this point. And that served him so well against Jarrell Miller, because I'm telling you, most other heavyweights under that type of relentless attack, even though Miller wasn't always punching, it's just his physical presence and getting you on the inside and banging into your body. Most other heavyweights would have gassed out under that type of pressure from Jarrell Miller. But Daniel Dubois, again, fantastic stamina, fantastic work rate. And look, there are fighters out there like, let's say, Usyk, who can move around and do that kind of thing for 12 rounds. But they're not sitting down on their punches and hitting with the kind of power that Daniel Dubois is. They don't have the kind of muscle that Daniel Dubois has. So to be able to do that against Miller, stick and move and sit down and throw loads of hard power shots at the same time, that was impressive, just from a stamina perspective. So the fight progressed. Dubois was well in control. Certainly by 7, 8, 9, you realize that, yeah, this guy has got it. Miller was playing a catch-up game. He was looking for big right hands. He did catch Daniel Dubois on a few occasions, but Dubois was able to take the shots. I thought once or twice Dubois was maybe slightly buzzed, but he stayed focused. Apparently Dubois' dad was very instrumental in keeping him mentally focused on what he had to do in the fight. Obviously, his trainer, Don Charles, did a great job. Definitely credit to Don Charles. Although I kind of disagree a little bit with Don Charles's assessment, because he said he wanted Daniel to just constantly move and not bang it out with Miller at all. I think that Dubois did the right thing in standing and banging it out with Miller at certain points in the fight, because I don't think the movement, if it just been constant, would have been sustainable. Whereas up close, he was able to actually get a rest at times, Dubois. Yeah, because Miller was smothering his own work in certain instances. And so rather than constantly moving around the ring and feel like, you're just being ran down, he would get a rest on the inside, throw a few shots, push Miller back, clinch at times. I thought it was very, very smart boxing by Daniel Dubois. And as I say, Dubois' dad was screaming instructions and motivation. Apparently Frank Warren got Dubois' dad. This is how involved Frank Warren was in the situation. He got Dubois' dad to come right up into the corner. I'm not sure whether you're allowed to do that, because you're only allowed a certain amount of people in the corner, obviously in the ring, but I'm talking about even in between rounds. Some commissions don't allow too many people that close to the ring, okay, screaming instructions at the fighter. But whatever the case may be, Frank Warren grabbed hold of Daniel Dubois' dad. He said, come over here, he needs to hear you. He needs to hear your motivation. And whatever it was, Daniel Dubois was able to find the inspiration. He was able to find the heart. He was able to find the determination and the punches to close the show, because that is, let's be real, what we all wanted to see. We wanted to see Jarrell Miller get his comeuppance. Yes, he served a 2-year ban, but the guy is unrepentant. Jarrell Miller has shown no remorse over what he's done. Multiple time drug cheat, this guy. Talks so much smack about other fighters. I mean, I could talk about this guy's psychology and what I think he is, but there's no need really, because Daniel Dubois did put him in his place. He did turn into Jarrell Miller's daddy. And this is the great thing about fighters with Dubois' type of mentality. They're not satisfied just winning on points. They want to close the show. Daniel Dubois has always been a closer. If he gets you hurt, well, the Usyk fight aside, because he didn't really go for it the way he should have done there, but normally when he gets you hurt, he goes for the finish. He's not satisfied with just outpointing you, and he got Jarrell Miller out of there. Fantastic shots. Miller started looking at the referee at one point. I'm thinking, why is he looking at the ref for? Is he looking for a way out, Jarrell Miller? Is he going to make him quit? The only lack of satisfaction was the fact that Jarrell Miller never went down. I kind of wish the referee allowed it to go on a little bit more so Dubois could have put him on his backside. But he was definitely going down anyway, and the referee was right to stop it in that sense, because Miller was done. So fantastic coming-of-age performance by Daniel Dubois. That's what this was. It was a coming-of-age performance. It was redemption. I don't know the guy. I've never spoken to him, but I can honestly say that based on this performance, I feel proud of this young man, the way he redeemed himself. Heartwarming stuff, a feel-good ending. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys thought about this fight in the comment section below. Daniel Dubois, Reborn. How far can he go in the heavyweight division? I think we're all looking at him very differently after that performance now. Look, he's still going to have his limitations, but just imagine how much Daniel Dubois is going to grow mentally from that fight, overcoming the big bad bully, toughing it out in a slugfest. How far can he go from this point? Which fighters can he beat? He's surely only going to get better. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.